Have you ever stepped into a conversation and instantly felt smaller than everyone else in the room? Your voice trembles a little, your hands feel cold, your heart beats faster than you want it to, and you suddenly think, what if I say something wrong? If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. I've worked with so many people across the US, from busy executives to fresh graduates, and they all admit one thing: communication makes them far more anxious than they want to admit. Not because they don't know how to speak, but because they're afraid of being judged, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of not being good enough. One of them, a woman named Lauren, once told me, "I always prepare so carefully, but when it's time to speak, I feel stuck inside my own head." And you know what? That's completely normal in today's world. We live in a time where every word can be dissected, every mistake magnified, and every glance makes us wonder, what are they thinking about me? But here's the fascinating part. Thousands of years ago, Stoic philosophers were already talking about this fear. They didn't have social media, they didn't have Zoom calls stacked back to back like we do, but they deeply understood the pain of being judged, being criticized, and feeling wounded by someone else's opinion. And they left us with principles so simple yet so powerful, principles that can help anyone become more confident. Not the loud, superficial kind of confidence, but a steady, grounded confidence. A confidence built on inner strength. A confidence that doesn't depend on whether people like you. A confidence rooted in knowing your own worth and not losing it in any conversation. Today I want you to imagine this. You're sitting with me in a quiet cafe, no pressure, no distance, no expectations. Just two people exploring how to stand a little taller in every conversation. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you're finally giving yourself a moment to pause and listen to your own mind. I remember a man named Ethan, a software engineer, brilliant guy, but every time he had to speak in front of his team, he froze. One day, I asked him a simple question. What are you most afraid of? He said, I'm afraid people will think I'm stupid. That's when I shared with him something the Stoics repeated over and over again. You cannot control what other people think. You can only control yourself. The day he truly understood that, something shifted in his eyes. He didn't suddenly become a perfect public speaker, but he became someone who could stand steady, even in front of a room. And that's what real confidence is. You see, confidence in communication isn't about talking more, laughing louder, or acting tougher. It begins with understanding and mastering in your inner world. Stoic philosophy doesn't teach you how to speak to impress people. It teaches you how to become the kind of person people naturally want to listen to. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 Stoic practices, the same ones that have helped hundreds of my students, from New York to Los Angeles to Houston, break free from anxiety and speak with calm confidence. No manipulation tricks. No be more charismatic in 5 seconds hacks. Just tools that genuinely transform you from the inside out. And before we begin, I want you to ask yourself this. If I could communicate today with calmness, without fear of judgment, how different would my life look? Hold that question with you, because once you understand the power of inner stillness, you'll realize that becoming confident in communication isn't just about speaking better, it's about becoming a stronger version of yourself. So, let's begin. 1. Realize you can't control what others think. And that's your freedom. Let me tell you something the Stoics held close to their hearts. There are things that belong to us and things that do not. And other people's opinions, they fall squarely in the category of not ours to control. I once worked with a businessman named Michael, the type of person who's successful, yet constantly tense. He prepared meticulously for every meeting, but the moment someone frowned, looked away, or shifted in their seat, he completely fell apart. He would say things like, I think they're unhappy. I'm pretty sure I didn't speak well enough. Maybe they think I don't deserve this position. So I asked him, Michael, how can you possibly know what they're thinking? Do we control their thoughts? He was silent. Then he nodded, a small nod but enough to begin a deep transformation. You see, most of our communication anxiety doesn't come from what's actually said. It comes from the stories we tell ourselves. They're judging me. They don't like me. I disappointed them. But Epictetus, the Stoic teacher, said it perfectly. We suffer not from events, but from our judgments about them. Imagine walking into a conversation and instead of thinking, what are they thinking about me? You tell yourself, their thoughts are theirs. My job is simply to be present and genuine. I've seen countless people transform after embracing this idea. When you let go of the burden of pleasing everyone, you speak more naturally. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you become the strongest version of yourself. And today, I want you to ask yourself one thing. How many of my fears are real, and how many exist only in my mind? Your answer might change the way you communicate forever. 2. Focus on your values, not on being perfect. During a workshop, I met a young woman named Sarah. She had a warm, beautiful voice, but she almost never spoke up. When I asked her why, she said, I'm afraid what I say won't be good enough. See that? This is one of the biggest traps of the modern world. We think that to be heard, we have to be perfect. But Marcus Aurelius reminded us of something entirely different. Your job is to do the right thing, not the perfect thing. Confidence doesn't come from saying every word flawlessly. Confidence comes from knowing you're living and speaking from your values. I told Sarah a story about myself. When I first started teaching Stoic philosophy, I was terrified of making mistakes. I was afraid I wouldn't sound credible enough, wise enough. But then one day, I realized something. People don't show up to hear me be perfect. They show up to hear a real human being sharing real meaningful thoughts. When I allowed myself to be imperfect, my voice stopped shaking. My heart opened up, and every conversation became more genuine. So I want you to ask yourself today, what value do I want to bring into this conversation? Do you want to be honest, respectful, understanding? Do you want to bring warmth and positive energy? When you focus on your values, confidence shows up naturally. You stop pretending to be someone else. You stop chasing the illusion of perfect enough. You simply do what matters, and people are always drawn to that. 3. Practice presence. Be truly there. One of the biggest reasons we lose confidence while speaking is because we're not actually present. Our body is in the room, but our mind is on some imaginary stage in our head. Am I saying the right thing? How are people looking at me right now? What should I say next? Should I smile, nod, look serious? But that friend keeps looking around, zoning out, answering half-heartedly, clearly thinking about something else. How would you feel? Unimportant, unheard. That's exactly how others feel when you're not present. The Stoics teach us, be here in this moment, it is the only thing you truly own. I practiced presence with a student named Brian, a guy who was great at talking but not always great at listening. One day I told him, Brian, I want you to focus on just 3 things when you communicate: your eye contact, your breathing, and your listening. That's it. Just 3 things. A few weeks later, he came back and said, I'm not just more confident now, I'm connecting with people on a deeper level. Presence is powerful like that. When you truly listen, you no longer stress about what to say next. Your words flow naturally from understanding. When you look someone in the eye, you're communicating, I'm here with you. When you relax your breath, your whole body resets into calmness. And here's the beautiful truth, When you're fully present, anxiety disappears. You're no longer stuck in your head, you're actually in the conversation. 4. Pause before you respond. The power of a 3-second calm. Think back to the last time you reacted too quickly, and then wished you had said something different. We've all been there, but the Stoics had a simple, incredibly effective technique. Pause. I always teach my students, when someone asks you something, or when you feel tension rising, pause for 2 or 3 seconds before you answer. That's it, simple. A man named Alex once told me, just those 3 seconds make me look so much more confident. And he was absolutely right. Have you ever noticed how calm, grounded people communicate? They don't rush, they don't panic, they speak slowly, clearly, and with weight. Pausing helps you control your emotions, choose your words more wisely, create a stronger impression, show respect to the person you're talking to, and most importantly, it switches your brain into calm mode. In psychology, this is called a safe space, the moment where you shift from reacting to responding. In Stoicism, it's called self-mastery before speech. A sentence spoken from calmness is always stronger than a sentence spoken from anxiety. 3 seconds of silence can turn a timid person into a steady one. And steadiness is one of the most attractive forms of confidence. I want you to try this today. The next time someone asks you something, don't answer immediately. Instead, take a gentle breath, offer a small smile, then respond. You'll feel the difference instantly. 5. Accept that mistakes are normal, and they don't decrease your worth. One of the biggest fears people have today is the fear of making mistakes. Fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of mispronouncing a word, fear of not expressing themselves perfectly, fear of being misunderstood. Have you ever felt like that? If yes, you are just like the rest of us, and you're exactly like the Stoics from 2,000 years ago. Seneca once wrote, "We are imperfect in their truth, and that is not a reason to avoid living." Let me tell you about a student named Lily. She's intelligent and kind, but every time she spoke in public, her hands shook. She was terrified she'd make a mistake and people would laugh at her. During a session, I asked her, have you ever seen someone make a mistake and then decided they're worthless because of it? She shook her head, no, never. So I asked her, then why do you think others would do that to you? She was silent for a long time, and then she smiled. The kind of smile you make when you finally realize how much fear you've been carrying for no reason. You see, mistakes in communication are tiny, but we inflate them into disasters. Stoic philosophy reminds us, mistakes are natural. Mistakes are information. Mistakes prove you're trying, growing, engaging with life. Confident people aren't people who speak perfectly. Confident people are those who aren't afraid of imperfection, and who rise from small mistakes without collapsing. I often tell my students, you are still a valuable human being, even if you say one wrong sentence. They nod, and every time they nod, I see a piece of fear fall off their shoulders. Remember, when you allow yourself to be imperfect, you allow yourself to speak, to try, to show up, and that's when real confidence begins. 6. Prepare. But don't hold rigid expectations. There's a common misconception. Confident people speak naturally without preparing anything. That's not true. A big part of confidence does come from preparation, but only when you prepare the right way. Let me tell you about Tom, a young manager I worked with. Every time he had a presentation, he prepared obsessively. He wrote every sentence, memorized every word, practiced until he sounded like a machine. But the moment he got on stage, if someone coughed in the audience, or if a random noise happened, he panicked. He said, I prepare so hard, but the moment something goes off script, I fall apart. And I told him something I believe you might need to hear too. Preparation is good, but expecting everything to go exactly your way, that's what destroys your calm. The Stoics had a very different approach to preparation. They prepared their message, they prepared their mindset. But they didn't try to control the outcome. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do your part well, the rest will unfold as it must." That's exactly how communication works. When you prepare just enough, meaning you know what you want to say and the values you want to convey, you walk into any conversation with clarity. But when you allow things to unfold naturally, you walk in with flexibility. And that flexibility is what makes you truly confident. I want you to try something next time you have to speak. Prepare not by memorizing every line, but by understanding your message clearly, knowing the 3 main points you want to deliver, and having a few simple examples to illustrate. Then let your body, your intuition, and your presence guide the rest. You'll feel more relaxed, more free, and far more confident because you're no longer fighting to cling to a rigid script. 7. Cultivate calm every day. Confidence begins with inner peace. This might be the biggest secret of truly confident communicators. They don't just practice speaking, they practice being calm human beings. Have you noticed this? Calm people, slow, grounded, gentle, always make others feel safe. They speak less, but every word feels meaningful. They speak slowly but with certainty. They are present, they listen, and they don't rush. Calmness isn't a personality trait, it's a skill, and anyone can train it. One of my students, Jason, once told me, "I don't understand how some people speak so naturally but still feel so magnetic." And after watching those people closely, I realized one thing: their calmness comes from the inside. Jason started practicing 3 small habits every day: 5 minutes of deep breathing, a short morning journal, 1 quiet moment during the day with no devices. After 3 weeks, he said, "I'm not just speaking more confidently, I'm living more confidently." You see, communication is a mirror of your inner world. If your mind is chaotic, your words will tremble. But if your inner world is calm, even a few simple sentences carry powerful weight. Stoic philosophy views calmness as a form of strength. And I believe that too, because I've watched hundreds of people transform their lives just by nurturing 1 small habit every day. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the one thing that disturbs my inner peace the most when I communicate? And what small habit can I build every day to steady my mind? You don't need 30 minutes of meditation, you don't need pages of journaling. Just a small, consistent practice is enough to build an inner foundation as solid as stone. And once you have that, every word you speak carries natural confidence. Final reflection. Returning to your inner strength, you and I have now walked through 7 simple practices, and if you look closely, they all point in the same direction. They guide you back to your inner steadiness. Confidence in communication doesn't begin with speaking techniques. It doesn't begin with being smooth, polished, or perfectly articulate. It doesn't come from trying to please everyone. It begins inside you, in what you believe, in how you see yourself, in your ability to stand steady regardless of someone else's judgment. Remember the question I asked at the beginning. If you could speak today with calmness, without fear of judgment, how different would your life look? Now, after practicing all 7 principles, let me ask you again, but more deeply. Are you ready to enter your next conversations as a different person? A person who knows their value, who is present, who is grounded, who is calm. Because the truth is, you don't need to become someone else, you don't need to perform, you don't need to hide behind complicated communication techniques, you just need to come home to yourself, to the stronger, calmer, more intentional version of you that Stoic philosophy has always believed you could be. I've seen this shift in so many people, from Lauren to Brian to Jason, and now in you. Everyone who sits with these ideas, listens with an open heart, and chooses to grow changes. and I believe you're already on the path toward your strongest self. Not because you're not enough, but because deep down you know you deserve to live with confidence. Stoicism doesn't make you perfect. Stoicism helps you live authentically, consciously, intentionally. And when you do that, confidence becomes effortless. Before we end this video, I want you to remember one final truth. Every conversation is an opportunity, not to prove your brilliance, but to show your calmness, your sincerity, and your presence. If today's message touched something inside you, don't forget to hit like so YouTube knows this is a message worth sharing. Subscribe so you won't miss weekly Stoic lessons to help you live deeper, calmer, and more confidently. Turn on the notification bell to listen. If you want to grow your inner peace and communication confidence week by week, and I'd love for you to share in the comments, which of the 7 practices will you start with? I read every comment, and who knows, your story might be the spark someone else needs. Thank you for spending this time with me. With yourself, may your next conversations be filled with calmness, clarity, and a heart free from fear. I'll see you in the next video on Stoic Awakening More. And as always, live fully, live mindfully, and live like a modern Stoic.